Welcome, everybody, to Navigating Change, the podcast from Teibel Inc. I'm Pete Wright. That there is...
Howard Teibel.
Howard Teibel. Handsome Howard Teibel, they call him on the streets. Hey, we are getting ready for... This is, I feel like, the culmination of a year-long journey, a sojourn, a crusade of yours, the national tour of the NACUBOs. It all leads to this.
It's what that was a nice try, but let me tell you something. We're not done with that national tour. We still got NACUBO in Florida and then NACUBO in Kansas City. So we're still really excited about, and I'll tell you, it's been such an eye-opener to be at these different regions. They're all so different, all so dynamic. So yeah, and this is coming together of the national organization, and I think you might know this. I'm not sure if you do, but NACUBO didn't come first. You often think a national organization initiates the regions. The regions actually discovered, and I don't know the exact history, but after they started doing what they're doing, there was a need to figure out how do we create a national organization, and this has become, in a sense, their flagship event that happens every year in the summertime, and this year in Seattle. So it's going to be really exciting, and I might even see you there, right? We're talking about bringing you down and meeting all these wonderful people, because everyone's always asking me, Pete, who is that guy?
Who is that guy? Well, we should find a way to do a show. Maybe one evening we'll do a live show and invite some people to join us.
Ooh, that'd be awesome.
That'd be fun, hey? Well, I wish that we could do sort of a single elimination, like which is the best NACUBO that you could do, like some sort of a bracket.
Like I'm really
you need a bracket, right?
This is like I love all my children. Right. I do not love any children better than others.
Well, this one I think is really exciting. Obviously, it brings together so many of the big issues facing finance officers in higher education. And when you look at the schedule coming up, I mean, the general sessions alone, we have the Polar Explorer, Allison Levine. We have Bill Gates coming to talk about changing face of education. We have Zany Minton Beddoes on day 3, editor of The Economist. This is, the headline events are terrific. And then you bring in all of these wonderful concurrent sessions. I mean, it is a rich catalog of education opportunities. How do you help people? This is my interest in going into this with you, is how do you frame what you're going to get out of such a rich event like this? What are the big issues that NACUBO is really exceptional at highlighting and helping to engage this audience toward a sort of new cultural direction?
Well, I think it's broad and it's deep. And NACUBO has really had to step up to figure out how do we stay ahead of the curve here. I mean, this is think about the evolving conversations and then NACUBO having to sort of say, how do we bring the best thought leaders in front of us, in front of our core audience, to then come up with a way to help them go back to their institution with new ideas. And I would say that NACUBO has, when I think about these last 2 years, what they have really evolved into is an organization that has embraced this idea of change is the norm. And this idea of embracing change. And also, thinking about business officers, we talked about this in a different podcast, but think about business officers as a much more influencer role than a business finance role. And in that context, the kinds of things NACUBO brings to the table is that kind of partnership between the finance side of the house or administration and the academic side of the house. And that is a critical conversation. And there will be sessions at the annual meeting on this. How do you support the academic side around this evolving academic delivery? What are the programs that we can either do more of, do less of, do differently? How do we weave in online learning if that's still something? Everyone sort of collectively agrees that MOOCs hasn't passed, but MOOCs is evolving. that MOOCs was in some ways a wake-up call about that the model is changing, and many people predicted it wasn't going to, cause the whole academic delivery to change, but it is opening up broader questions about what does the evolving academic delivery look like, and for a business officer, it's a critical question. So that's the first thing. Financial aid. That's another big issue, and how to think about financial aid at your institution. That's another area that NACUBO tackles brilliantly in terms of bringing thought leaders, both internal successes that institutions have had in this, and also people that are helping with this outside of those institutions. I think that the reality for the public institutions, the declining state support, is forcing them to be stepping back and asking the questions, how do we operate in a more self-sustaining way? And it forces the tough questions, which in many cases we have not had to face in a way that we're facing today, as long as I've been in helping the industry, to be able to say, we cannot just keep a program because we as deliverers of it love that program. We keep it because it's consistent with the mission, and we really can subsidize it. We really have a strategy for subsidizing it. That's another area that will be tackled on this. We'll hear from John Walda about the state of policy and the whole question of access, affordability, student success. I am pretty confident Bill Gates will have something to say about this. And what do you think so?
Oh, I roll the dice on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and that in itself, just having him present there, as part of the Gates Foundation, but him telling his story, I think is going to be an incredible draw. I mean, talk about a coup getting Bill Gates to come. Just the timing of it's so perfect, given who he is. And then, I'd say that. The overarching question that some are having conversations today in a very tough environment, there are a subset of schools in each sort of area, whether it's a community college, research institutions, privates, the elites, however you want to frame these different categories, that are truly vulnerable today. And navigating that vulnerability, having a decreased Moody's rating that causes you to have a different kind of debt strategy, navigating those issues in itself, it's not new territory, but the challenge there becomes, and I'm going to talk about this at the New Business Officers Workshop, how do you create a certain sense of urgency, right, on your campus or with your core leaders around some of these issues? You could still play the game, well, you know what, next year we'll get those students back, or it's going to go back the way it was. I think the schools and the leaders that are facing the harsh realities head on, and they're having the tough conversations, are going to find themselves 5 years down the road in a better position. And the schools that are not having those tough conversations, even if they are not collectively viewing themselves as vulnerable, they're going to be at greater risk. So, those 5 areas really represent for me what NACUBO does brilliantly, and our contribution, Teibel Inc., in terms of being there, will really be about, and has been around in our work, how do you create this kind of collaboration on your campus and navigate some of this change? And we do this in a number of kinds of projects that we do, but the topic that I'll be speaking about will be focused on strategic communication, and how do you develop key messages that help move the needle in terms of initiatives you're trying to get some momentum around, and that to me is at the heart of what makes a difference in terms of making change real.
Well, I think that's a huge point. I don't think we can underscore that enough. Just the role that your work in strategic communications has, as we've talked about before, in leadership and developing influence, a broader stake of influence across a campus. That is. Talking about moving the needle, that is sort of your role as a leader on campus, to influence, support, and push change forward.
I'll tell you, the first time that I got to deliver this presentation with Lorraine Arvin when she was at the University of Chicago, I was actually pleasantly surprised at the high level of interest around this. In some ways, we can implicitly say, well, people know that communication is important. I think what we underestimate is how important it is to what strategic communication means, and that is at the heart of it. It's really about communicating the why behind what you want to do, not what you want to do. And too often, we just communicate the what we want to do, and we don't set a bigger vision or picture for what it is. And the great leaders, when we listen to them, and there are, what's wonderful is at the annual meeting, you're going to hear a lot of great leaders telling powerful stories, and if you listen carefully, what you're hearing is they know how to frame why it's important. So at the heart of being an effective strategic communicator around financial and non-financial issues is the ability to step back and say, what's my key message? And I say that that's an area where we do a lot of work in terms of empowering internal leaders to turn around and do that for their people.
It looks like it's going to be a great opportunity to dig at greater depth into this subject. Now, I know you're delivering this presentation, the strategic communications presentation. This is going to be July 21st. That's Monday, 1 to 2:15 p.m. And you're working with folks you've worked with in the past. Kelly Fox, Chief Financial Officer and Senior Vice Chancellor at University of Colorado Boulder, and Greg Lovins, Vice Chancellor, Business Affairs, Appalachian State. Both have been guests on this show.
That's right. And so now I did, an hour with each one of them at the different regions, one at NACUBO, one at NACUBO. And now the three of us, and I think we're going to be the mod squad. It's perfect.
It really is.
As long as I get to be Link, right? I've always wanted to be Link. And anyone out there who's not laughing, that just tells you how old I am, right?
Yeah, right.
If you're not laughing, it's because you've never saw the Mod Squad. Go Google the Mod Squad. You'll see who Link is. You'll know exactly, because Link is the coolest. You know who I'm talking about, Pete?
Of course I do. I had to do that when my dad made references to the Mod Squad. What?
My dad.
Hey, it looks like it's going to be a fantastic opportunity to once again participate with the NACUBO, the fantastic NACUBO body. You are also doing, as we've talked about on a past show, you're doing the New Business Officers Forum, which is the registration required forum, the pre-conference workshop. So you've got a lot going on in NACUBO this year.
Yeah, and Gail is joining me for the conference, and it really is
that's the world famous Gail Gregory.
Well famous Gail Gregory.
Yes.
And what's wonderful is just partnering with her in terms of this, because the wonderful thing is she's going to be doing the NACUBO strategic communication session with one of those regional people. So she's going to get an opportunity to meet this person there, and it's one of these events that I think people come away from the annual meeting jazzed that they have a better facility of how to navigate some of these issues. And then the cycle starts all over again,
because for many of these people
see, most of these people, this is when their fiscal year is just ending and they're closing their books, and it's the middle of the summertime, so it's
audits,
almost
reports.
like this is the opportunity to take a deep breath. Now, it's not true for everybody, depending on how quickly you can close, but I think NACUBO tries to time this, so this is a good time for business officers to step back and take 3 or 4 days. And the date changes sometimes, but collectively, I think people walk away from this saying, this is the kind of, and their enrollments just keep growing, just because they keep offering the kind of value they're offering.
Well, and that's just it. So use NACUBO as your big reset. If you take anything out of this, make sure to take that step back and think broadly. Try not to get lost in the minutia of your day-to-day, and really look at how you can integrate some of these wonderful new topics and new ways of thinking about your about this field and about your role, and take it back to your business next year.
And come to my session.
And definitely come to Howard's session, Link's session.
Link. See, we'll know if I'll make the reference and we'll see if anybody even knows. I'll get the wig.
Yeah, that's
big
right.
Afro wig.
Dear. All right. Hey, this has been a good conversation, Howard. Thank you so much, as always, for your time and attention.
Thank you, Pete.
If you want to learn more about this show, head over to TeibelInc.com. You can subscribe in iTunes right there. There's a handy button right on the sidebar right there. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode of Navigating Change and Howard Teibel's fantastic wisdom. You can also subscribe in Stitcher Smart Radio so you can listen to it in your car. All sorts of great ways to catch up with the show. So enjoy the session. Maybe we'll have a live show. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I am too. That's great.
And then we'll catch you next week on Navigating Change, the podcast from Teibel Inc.